What's happening, YouTube? It's Simon466 Cards with my second video and hopefully improved audio from the first video. Today we're going to talk about PSA, and we kind of take for granted the different service levels that they have, but I wanted to dig deeper to understand what the rationale is that PSA gives us for all of these different levels and whether or not they make sense when you get upcharged. So let's dive right in. First page here is just the standard PSA website page with the 7 different levels from bulk all the way to walkthrough. They're differentiated based off of turnaround time, price obviously, and the declared value or the card value. The next page here are these premium service levels I was not aware of, mostly because I don't have cards that fit into these levels. But this is going to be interesting, and it's going to come in later in a few minutes here, because of the way that they compare to some of the bulk to walkthrough levels and how they are not quite as consistent in terms of the ratios. So that's the little trailer for you, a little spoiler for you as we move along here. And so I've summarized all of the levels, all the service levels into this one table here. And the one that sticks out is declared value. Why? Because none of the other companies really do this declared value to the extent that you have a laundry list here of service levels. So why do they exist? Well, let's see what PSA says about it. This is straight from their website. On their website, in the red box, you can see there are really 2 reasons why they exist. The first one is maximum item value in the event of a claim connected with that item while a PSA, which basically means the possibility that they need to buy back cards that were incorrectly authenticated, aka fake cards that were slapped, right? And so, obviously as that increases in value, then the likelihood of that also increases. And then the second one is shipping insurance, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. But those are the reasons why PSA claims that they have declared value. Now, let's talk about the 3 benefits that you get when you get your card slapped at PSA. First one we just talked about, it's the speed of turnaround time, right? This can be from 3 days to 4 to 6 months, or even longer a couple years ago. The second one is the encapsulation costs and the other fixed costs, entering the card into the database, all that kind of stuff. I'm estimating it at $10 a slab. It could be $5 or $10. It's somewhere in that range, right? We know this because right now they're offering $15 slabs. So if you know the cost of grading a slab and creating a slab is going to be less than $15. And before the pandemic, they were even at $8 a slab, right? So we know it's going to be roughly $5 to $10. What it is, actually, it doesn't really matter, as we'll see in a little bit, but we're going to go with $10 for now. And then the third benefit is what we just discussed from the PSA website. Shipping insurance, right? This cost is directly proportional to the value of the card. If you have a card that's worth $100 and you have another card that's worth $200, your shipping insurance will be double on the $200 card versus the $100 card. Very straightforward. The needing to buy back fake cards that have been slabbed, this only impacts high level or high value slabs, right? Like I have listed here, you need to worry about MJ Fleer rookie cards. You don't need to worry about Kobe White base cards being slabbed, right? So this risk of fakes is only relevant in the high-end market, and this is really important. But what this really tells us is risk premiums as a percentage of the card should increase as card values increase. You don't need to worry about fakes at the $40 level. You need to worry about fakes at the $4,000, $40,000 level. That's basically what this is saying. And so if we add this to the chart before, you can see here with the risk arrow, it shows that as you go into the higher and higher tiers, there's more and more risk to PSA, right? Based off of what they've told us. I don't think we need to worry about bold base cards being faked and being slapped. So with that in mind, now let's talk about what you pay for when you get your cards graded versus what you get when you are upcharged. Here are the 3 things that we just talked about on the previous page. I won't go over them again. What do you get when you are upcharged? You actually only get 2 of the 3 things. Because if you put your card or send your card in at bulk, and then it gets upcharged to regular or express or what have you, you're still waiting the 4 months. They don't put that card into a time machine and give it back to you in 15 days, like you would have if you had just submitted it at the original express level that it ended up at, right? So you only get the 2 benefits instead of the 3 when you get upcharged. What does that mean? Well, that means there's only 2 benefits, and we know one of them is roughly $10 for the encapsulation. So you can do simple math to figure out what their insurance or risk premium is that you're paying. And so I'm going to walk through a very simple calculation of how we will do this. Let's say you have a card, it's upcharged to the $100 level. You know that encapsulation and all that logistics stuff that they do at the PSA main office, $10. That means the remaining $90 is the insurance or risk premium. And so if the card ends up being, let's say, $2,000 declared value, $90 risk premium divided by the $2,000 declared value, you're looking at this insurance and risk premium of 4.5%. And we know from what we talked about earlier with the higher end cards that these insurance risk premium percentages should increase as the value of cards increases, right? So it should go from low at the bulk level to very high or relatively higher at the premium 1, 2, 3, 5 levels. So I did the calculation for all of these levels. That's the exact same calculation that I just walked through a minute ago. And what do I find when you get upcharged? I find that's not the case at all. In fact, the lowest risk premium is for the highest end card. That doesn't make sense to me, right? We just talked about all the reasons why it should be the exact opposite of what you're seeing. The 2% should be at value, and the 5, 6% should be the premium 5, and it should be slowly escalating upwards. That's not the case. Why is that? And to me, the reason is pretty obvious. PSA is a for-profit company. They're here to make money, and they can do this because the customers are willing to pay for it, and it's a money grab. Because if you're at, let's say, premium 1 or premium 2, and you get upgraded to premium 5, that's an extra $4,000 if they maintain at that 4% or at that high level. It's a big ask to pay thousands and thousands of dollars more. Whereas if you get charged from bulk to economy, that's an extra $35, and you're like, okay, $35, I'll eat it, whatever, fine. And so they basically price the tiers. They claim it's because of insurance and risk and all this kind of stuff. It's not. It's solely based off of your willingness to pay at each level. And so they're able to squeeze an extra, $15, $20 out of you because they can, and they know you're willing to pay it. You're willing to pay for that PSA brand. They know that the higher end customers, they're not going to pay an extra $2,000, $3,000. So then they lower the risk premium down to 2%. And what does this tell us? It tells us that they are able to charge at 2%. They just choose not to. And so as a result, you're getting overcharged a lot at some of these lower levels. Express, if you get upcharged, you're getting overcharged by $90, $60, regular level, et cetera, et cetera. Yep, you see the full chart there. And so to me, it kind of screams a money grab to me. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe there are other reasons why these aren't all aligned at exactly 2% or 3% or 4%, whatever. Maybe there is a good reason why they're not just standard across the board. But to me, there is no real reason for that. And I mean, that's just how I feel. And so if we recalculate based off of what would the quote-unquote fair price be when you're upcharged at just a 2% risk premium, then you see this column on the right here. This is what the quote-unquote fair price should be at 2%. And you can see it is quite a ways different from what we normally pay at the various levels. Regular at 40, Express at 60, sign me up. And I feel like a lot of collectors and investors would love those prices. But you don't get charged those because PSA knows that they can charge an extra 30, 50, $100 and squeeze that out of you. So that's really the crux of this. There's not a whole lot more math or science to this. It's just compare the price versus the value of the declared value. It's not consistent. And so here is the quick summary, right? I think it doesn't just apply to service levels, to upcharges. It applies when you just pay PSA for sending your cards in. You get your cards quicker and faster at these high levels, and you get a lower insurance rate or insurance risk premium. That doesn't make sense to me. That's it. That's the whole video. Let me know what you think down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Am I missing something? Or do you agree with what I'm saying here? I honestly think this is a pure money grab from PSA, and this is the thumbnail I wanted to use, but I decided against it. But I created it anyways just for me, and so maybe you guys will get a laugh out of this. The next video I'm going to talk about is exposing tactics showbidders use on eBay to go undetected, and I will actually walk you through an account or two on eBay that just flagrantly and just explicitly does this. They don't pretend to hide it. And they're also not hard to find on Instagram. So I'm not exactly exposing this person, but I am exposing what they do. And as part of that, I will need to show their username. But that's the next video. And I feel like it'll change the way you might look up bidding histories when you look up a card to make sure that it's not being shilled. So hopefully that's something that'll be interesting of you. But thanks for listening and watching, everybody. Would, again, love to hear your comments and feedback on today's video. And I can be found on Instagram also at Simon466cards, so feel free to look me up there as well. But until next time, thanks for listening and watching. Cheers.